Hello everyone. Namaskar. Thank you for joining us today at our Future of Education event today. I am Om Jivan Gupta, the Education Sector Lead at Microsoft India. Last few months amid pandemic has had major economic and humanitarian impact on us and has made us think and rethink the way we have to live, the way we work, the way we operate, or what we call it as a new normal. Specifically talking about education, the initial focus of all of us, the teachers, the student, was to keep the learning going. And to our surprise, the educators and students very quickly and swiftly moved to the new way of learning, which is remote or what we call virtual learning through online classes. However, there are many other challenges that institution has discovered during this learning, which they are trying to work out a solution around that, like immersive learning experiences. How do you build a robust, transparent, effective examination and assessment system and much more? In the current scenario, it is very important that we understand what does the future of education looks like and how could we better prepared to embrace it. To give the thoughts, we would like to introduce you to Dr. Buddha Chandrasekhar, the National Chief Coordinating Officer AICTE. Dr. Buddha has also been the official spokesperson for prestigious Bharatiya Janata Party. With an executive MBA from Maryland University, Dr. Buddha is also a passionate technologist, proficient in advanced technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, and IoT. Welcome, Dr. Buddha. It's a pleasure to have you us with today.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you very much.
So, Dr. Buddha, tell us how are you doing and how are you coping up with the current situation we are all in?
I think the COVID pandemic opened up a new possibilities where no man has never, been before. So it is a kind of a challenge for the entire humanity, and I'm sure the human is accepting this challenge and trying to, move over this challenge and trying to create some new dimensions in their lives and new workways, new way of studying the nature, new way of understanding the industry requirements. I think this is a kind of a the problem became an opportunity for humans. I see that it's a very interesting phase for the entire globe. One from a industrialization point of view, one from a nature point of view, and how we live and how we can survive in this world.
Very well said, Dr. Buddha, and I do echo your sentiments there. Before we deep dive into the session of future of education, Dr. Buddha, from the lens of policymaker, that is AICTE, let's have a quick round of fire round.
Okay.
What will you do if you get an extra hour a day? Read or exercise?
I love reading because learning is my passion. So I always try to learn advanced technical implementations like artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, business intelligence, cyber security, and I'm even interested on outer space related matters. I mean, see, the thought process here is as we are moved from industry 1.0 to 2.0 to 3.0 to now we are in a 4.0, and our lives are almost half managed by missions and controlled by missions, and the rest of the half is a creative part where we as a humans has still has a control, and we are still trying to fine tune how we can use this technology for betterment of humans. So there artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning is doing lots of good things in our lives. Like example, if you take doing a translation from one language to another language, which was a major problem in few years back, and now with help of deep learning and NLP we are trying to resolve such kind of an issues, and doing something like using advanced technologies, hyperledger like blockchains. So that's another area, and the data is like everywhere, and after 4G volt and 5G technologies, this is a huge data dump is going to be in front of us. So I see that business intelligence, because the data has no meaning unless until you derive a meaning out of it. So you need to create a business intelligence systems to understand and at the same time secure it using cyber security policies. So these are the couple of areas, which I'm interested, and I love learning all these new technologies and continuously learn anything coming new in the market.
Dr. Buddha, which is your favorite book that you read in 2020 and why?
It's an old book, but I still regularly read one book called Management. Basically, it teaches you about tasks, responsibilities, and practices. So, I mean, if you ask me in a layman terms, basically it teach you how to manage people, process, and technology, so that you can understand the requirement of these big C's like CEO, CTO, CFO, CSOs. I mean, these are the people who run the industries, as well as like example, if you take any chief minister or prime minister, all these big people, they execute things and they create policies. So that is where the management comes into picture. And the second one is in search of excellence, because taking a task is not only the thing, you need to improvise this task and make it like, reach somewhere, where no one reached in that particular scenarios. So trying to, always trying to learn and improvise the system. So the second book I really love is In Search of Excellence by Thomas Peters. I mean, it's an amazing book. I think he wrote it in 1986 or 87, but still it has lots of meat in it, which can be used even in 21st century, to how to improvise the process, how to improvise the technology, how to improvise the people management. And along with this, now the another module which we basically come up completely is handling the risk. Because there is sudden pandemic, like example COVID, the risk mitigation is another area where lots of entities are lagging. So these two books basically covers these entities. So I love, and these are my favorite books, which I always refer.
Very well said. The best advice by one of your teachers that you stuck up to.
Yes, I still remember my seventh standard teacher. He used to say, focus, focus, focus. I think you need to focus on the task. So if someone gave you a task, you need to focus on it, finish it, improvise it, and move to the next task. I think a lot of people fail just because of this one reason. I mean, if you take Microsoft, Bill Gates, or Apple, innovator Steve Jobs, they focused. They always focused on their task and they improvised it, they finished it, then they moved to the next level. These are the mantra which I still remember from my teacher is focus, focus, and focus.
Dr. Buddha, my question to you is, what are the opportunities that has opened up during pandemic, and and what are the opportunities that you feel NEP 20 will open up for the students of the country?
Yeah. So I will start with, as you know, India is a young country and attracting investments from across the globe. And in last 5 years, we have received more than 250 billion FDI in India. And in during the pandemic, we have received more than 75 billion US dollars as an investment in India. What it really means is every country is looking towards India. So they are investing in automobile sector, in various sectors, like if you take sector of IT services, BPO, KPO, food processing, leather, railways, and biotechnology, aviation, railways, roads. I mean, these are the various sectors there is going to result more than 10 crore direct and 40 crore indirect opportunities by 2025. So what it really means is we need to make all our students ready to basically utilize this opportunity. And along with these foreign investments, Indian government listed more than 6,835 projects, which is worth of 111 lakh crore on national infrastructure. And we are upgrading all our infrastructure with respective to defense, national security, food and grocery, from the energy sector point of view, data putting on cloud, on the health services, on the water side, upgrading our banking and finance sector, on the space. I mean, various sectors we are getting receiving an investments on one side, and the Indian government is investing lots of technical upgradation side. So this is going to result more than 10 crore direct and 40 crore indirect opportunities. And if you see the entire world, I mean, if you see the entire world, then the opportunities are going in a rapid phase. And if you take Industry 4.0 alone, can create more than 900 million opportunities for next 5 years. And if you take automobile industry, more than 600 million jobs, because if you see, lots of electrical vehicles are coming up, and in India we started fine tuning all these electrical vehicle as well as solar policies in order to establish those manufacturing hubs for electrical vehicles as well as solars. At the same time, we are going to have a critical infrastructure upgradation also. And financial services is another area which is a core strength for India, and where the 600 million opportunities on the across the globe. So we can basically enable and empower all our students to capture this market. And biotechnology is another area where I see that 200 million opportunities for next 5 years. Food technology, food processing related technology has 100 million opportunities. And if you take healthcare, in healthcare after COVID pandemic, the number of requirements and opportunities got increased from 200 million to 400 million opportunities for next 5 years only on the mobile health. And with help of 3D printing, 3D imagining, and internet of medical things is another area, along with robotics, opened up a large scale opportunities across the globe. It's a 400 million opportunities. And if you take the energy sector, the microgrid and the smart meters, and as you know, this is getting completely implemented on more than 100 smart cities in India and 4,000 urban local bodies. So this energy sector is another sector where 200 million plus opportunities are coming up. And if you count along with agri-tech and telecommunication, somewhere around 600 million opportunities. So if you put all this together, somewhere around 300 crore opportunities for our students. But is our students ready? That's where the national education policy comes into picture. And if you ask me what is national education policy in one liner, it's a preparing the young minds for future. We want to empower them. We want them to think, on the both the sides of the brain. And as you know, the national education policy has one very beautiful thing is we have taken industry requirement as an input and used advanced technologies to implement and upgrade our educational policies to empower and upskill our students for their better future. So it is like, instead of teaching, we want to transform the student. Instead of giving education, we want to empower the students so that they can lead. And as you know, the five major pillars of the national education policy is access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. I mean, one of the best national education policy in the across the world, and empowering the education to innovation on the innovation side, on the research side, on the not only creating the workforce, who is going to work under someone. We are going to create a entrepreneurs. So this is a purely on the entrepreneur based. I mean, if you really ask me in one liner, it will empower your right as well as left brain. That's a beauty of the national education policy.
Absolutely. Well said, Dr. Buddha, and do agree. Saying that it is the time whereby we need to empower the learners so that they can take decisions for the better future. AICT is policy maker institution for STEM education in India. What role would technology play in delivering the best in-class education in India in the remote hybrid learning scenario, Dr. Buddha?
Yeah, very good question. I mean, see, now if you ask me, the Ministry of Education of India is no more a policy making division. We are a well advanced technology division. We are translating the textual based information to a interactive video based, audio based, interactive PDF based. I mean, the minute you open up a PDF, it is interactive in nature and it gives lots of additional hyperlinking based information. You have the videos embedded in it, you have a 3D structure embedded in it, and we even coming up with AR, VR based solutions, and using artificial intelligence on the background to create a student pipeline, to understand the timeline of a student and understand the learning patterns of a student. And we are using blockchain, where we are providing a certification, so that this, the modified intentions of a few people, that will get nullified fully. And using this 35 crore students which we have, we are using this entire database and trying to create data driven solutions for betterment and understand the learning capabilities of a student, and creating live streaming opportunities, so that we can live stream the classes. And we are doing, we opened up 34 DTH channels. I mean, 34 DTH channels with in multiple languages. I mean, in 8 languages. Like if you take the person who's in a small remote village in Andhra Pradesh, who can understand and speak only Telugu, he can watch this content in Telugu language. So we have the DTH channels, and it's all are free of cost. So, and all these are listed in as well as in all dish channels, so that everyone can access. And at the same time, we have come up with the content, which can run on 2G technologies, as well as the same content, based on the speed of the internet. The content delivery, content speed, content quality will improve. So the same file gets interpreted and processed in three or four different speeds, so that we can cover the 2G, 3G, 4G, 4G volt, as well as in case in future in 5G. I mean, we come up with this entire architecture in place. And doing online assessment nowadays, I mean, we try to reduce maximum offline assessment in, process, and we are completely moving towards online assessment, as well as interactive classrooms. I mean, we used to, if you, I'm sure you all know, these are the blackboards which we used to have. Now we are replacing those blackboards with the interactive classrooms. So when I say interactive classrooms, what I really mean by that is, the seeing is believing. The students from the school, they will start looking, and they interact with the content. They can do experiments there itself, and they can see all these mathematical equations, compass everything in front of them. They can derive the degrees, and they can do experiments there itself. They can mix colors, they can mix lots of chemicals, they can do experiments. I mean, amazing. Interactive classrooms is another area where we use the technology a lot and doing. And another area which we focused is Divyang friendly education software. As you know, we have few couple of lakhs Divyang students in our country. So we want to give equal. See, that's what the beauty of the national education policy. Equal. Everyone is equal. The girl child, the Divyang, the normal student. So for the Divyang, we are creating a special softwares which is Divyang friendly, and lots of virtual labs. I mean, I'm sure you also agree that we used to have a physical labs. Now the entire physical lab example, from with respect to chemistry, or with respect to electronics, with respect to computer science, with respect to gamification, we made it everything virtual. So there's lots of virtual labs come up now, and coming up with a national education technology forum, which is going to handle the entire technology, with respect to that. And recently we had one tie up with Microsoft also, to and utilizing their technologies, like we are utilizing their Azure platform to host these applications. We are utilizing their translation, advanced artificial intelligence technologies to translate English based content to various languages. like translating from English to Hindi, translating from English to Telugu to Tamil to Gujarati, Marathi, Malayalam. I mean, wherever possible, we are using the advanced technologies to empower the student. And our thought process is not only empower the student, from the content point of view, we are giving him an option, opening up the research world, and we are asking them to do lots of research and do a intellectual property, because in India we have only 1.2% of intellectual property is registered. But whereas the same Indians, when they go towards in other country universities, they are having lots of patents. So we come up with a new patent policy. We are encouraging all our students to basically do a lot of patenting. At the same time, we want our universities not only as a teaching knowledge repositories, we want them to be a center of excellence. We want them to be a startups. We want them to be a research institutes. So we are encouraging, we are giving lots of fund to the educational institutes, so that we are empowering them, so that our students will learn a lot, and companies can directly establish their center of excellences research opportunities within the campus itself.
Absolutely, Dr. Then is such a nice policy whereby you're trying to frame that a student going outside and their patenting should be done in India so that the patent remains in India. What are some important features you feel an online learning platform should have to ensure an impactful learning experience, Dr. Buddha?
Sure. Yeah. See, I see every learning management tool must be accessible from any time and anywhere, sir. That's the first thing, 24 bar 7. Example, we have created few applications and hosted on Microsoft, and we made it compatible with multiple languages, and that pages load super fast like this. So anytime, anywhere, because our thought process is some student from remote village must access this so super fast in a super fast way. So similarly, for any online tool, educational tool, anywhere, anytime is one. The second thing is personalization, because every student is unique, and every student learning patterns are different. The way they learn is different. Their interesting areas are different, and their mind framings are different, and their physical environment, their family environment, their friends environment, everything is unique for them. So they adopt, they learn things based on what they see, right? So the personalization of the learning tools is very, very important. And flexible delivery. If I ask the content in a video format, the LMS must give that in a video format. Or if I ask the same thing on a more research oriented, to learn something on a PDF format or in a 3D model, it must give. And it must have a peers and mentors, because sometimes what happens, see, the student is kind of a entity who basically stuck in a junction, and someone is to mentor them and guide them for the right path. So the minute you just guide them once, then they will move forward and they will reach the destination and their goal. So mentoring is another part which must have, and lots of discussion, because sharing is caring always. So in India, what was happening till now in old national education policy, it was like, it created isolated entities of students. But in the new national education policy, we are encouraging every institute student to work as a team, as a collaborative. And that's very important, because see, now the everything is flipped, classroom based and blended learning, right? So why, where, not what and how. So why and where, see, they must understand, they must do a blended learning and practical oriented. Let them learn everything in a practical approach. Example, see, the recent I see, there's lots of operations in healthcare. The doctors are practicing in a 3D models. I think we must adopt such kind of advanced methodologies, and run and create a digital imprints, of all kinds of machinery we have, the physical machinery, and create the replica digital prints imprints and use these imprints in in colleges. So the any kind of a online methodology or tool or LMS needs to have this kind of a digital imprint capabilities, so that they can practically they can touch, feel, and still they can use those heavy machinery or industry requirements or real time scenario within the college or within online session itself. And the other one, you see, the creativity is another thing which is really missing. I mean, what's happening is people, the students, they are just mugging up because they want rank. I think we need to get rid of that kind of a policy and make sure all our students get real time knowledge and practical knowledge. So that practical knowledge is very very important, and thinking out of the box. I mean, why only do this in this particular method or process? Why can't I try, we need to open this up and open up our even our applications also, so that they can try out different various methods and various processes, and they may, who knows what, tomorrow they may come up with something which never exists in this world and very useful for us. So this kind of a models which we are defining, and I suggest for every edtech company or any online product must adopt this process.
Absolutely, Dr. Buddha. And we also believe saying that it's like the new education policy should be based on the 4C. So the student is able to communicate, they are able to collaborate, they are able to do critical thinking and be creative. Then the student, the old way of mugging and thing is over, so that they'll be more creative. So thanks a lot, Dr. Buddha, for your time and for these great insights. I'm sure our audience must have had a good view of what our future of higher education would look like in India in the coming days. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for being here on the webinar. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Namaskar.